This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Now, here is a database. Let's say key Oracle, and here is another database. This is key SQL Server. In fact, Microsoft SQL Server, and then here is another database called MySQL. Assume there are different database providers, vendors, who are available in the world. Now, this Java application, when I say the core model, the developer can write only Java code. But this database, this could get developed in any language. I cannot predict it. Oracle may be in Java, SQL Server could be in C Sharp, MySQL could be in C. I don't know what language they have used for developing. So they have their own set of native language. But ultimately, how this database to be communicated, they have defined one client with every server. So the client facilitates us to communicate to the database. So everybody have come up with a native client. That's what I said. We have used one of the native client also in the morning session, MySQL command line client and MySQL admin. So here this comes with SQL plus 32 is the client, and here MySQL comes with MySQL command line client, and then SQL server. I mean, oh, this is a MySQL. Okay, Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio is what they have, and this will have what I said, MySQL command and client. But these are like clients where all of these clients they understand only one language, which is nothing but SQL. So here also what we were giving is SQL, and here also today morning we have seen what we were supplying is SQL language. But this is not what we supply over here. Here we write Java code. Now, how do these applications speak to these people? Well, initially those people were supplying us a common layer, which just like this, they are coming up with something called as proprietary APIs. So they supply vendor specific APIs. Okay. So the problem here with vendor specific APIs is again they are written in the native language what the database supports. Am I clear? So because of this reason, working with this vendor specific APIs or supplied APIs may not be easy for our application. So Java has come up with a proposal. What Java said, key, I will give you a layer, common API here. Okay, so this is a common or interactable or interface API. Okay, na? What do you mean by interface based? You need to understand when I say interface based, that is unimplemented. So here, this is what they said. The API is unimplemented. That means it is just in a format of right. So the kind of API what they provide is only in the interface style. That means there is no implementation. It contains only structure. So what Java says, ki, देखो भैया, you come up with the implementation. I supply you the structure. So what they say to every vendor that they require a common implementation of this supplied interface. So what is the meaning of interfaces? It contains only structure. Implementation may contain any kind of code. So they say, please implement same API, okay, same API specific to Oracle calls. Similarly, this is again same API specific to SQL Server calls. Similarly, this is also same API specific to MySQL calls. So something like this I said. Because when you supply this, I call it with the name something called as driver. So this driver actually helps me in driving. Okay, driver and driver. So what exactly this driver will do? So this driver as supposed to be implemented in a way that my application speaks to this layer saying that, hey, I wanted to perform this. And then this request will be controlled by your driver. What your driver will do, your driver will takes care of translation of this call to Oracle understandable native call, and then take the response after execution of the command, and then again translate it to Java specific, and then again from this layer my application will try to read the response, something like this. So here basically what I'm asking him is to develop a protocol who basically works as a translation protocol between my layer and this. So this protocol translation part is implemented as a JDBC driver. We call that person as a JDBC driver. Just like a SIM card takes our I mean whatever you say from your phone, it translates them to EMF and then passes to the tower. Tower will amplify it and send it across to satellite. Satellite again passes it to the other level of tower. Tower receives it and then identifies the mobile to whom you are calling to, and then again translate it into sound signal and then pass it back to the speaker so that the other person will listen what you are saying. Even the class is also happening in the same way. The sound waves are getting passed through internet and you are getting it within a split second. So this kind of translation mechanism is what they needed to happen, just like what the SIM card is doing. They wanted this fellow to supply a mediator called driver who will do this translation. Understood now? So here the application wants to come up with a common implementation wherein the database could be anything. I will not change anything from my code. What I will do is, let's say for example, today I have a phone. Think of this example. Think of this example. Okay, I have a phone. Today I am using a SIM card supplied by Airtel and I'm speaking to the entire world. Tomorrow, I don't want to use this Airtel network service anymore. I wanted to change the service to Reliance. Do I have to change my handset? No. A simple thing is you need to change your SIM card. So remove this and then replace it with Reliance SIM card, Geo, and then you will be in position to speak to the other model of network. Correct or not? But the way I use the phone is one and the same thing. So because of SIM card, I should not change my phone. I should change only SIM card. The same concept is applied here. Because of the database, I should not change my application. My application should remain same. And when I wanted to change the database, I will simply change the driver. This is what they said. Am I clear? So by changing only one single line of code or a single property and some username and password kind of stuff, I should be in a position to change my communication to another server. But the way I communicate to the server must be same. This is the concept of JDBC. Am I clear? So you develop application only once. You please no need to change the code in order to communicate to different databases. You will get a one single style of communication to communicate to any database through this database. Initially, they have come up with so many different kind of drivers: sun.jdbc.odbc, jdbc odbc bridge driver, and netpure partial Java driver, and vendor specific complete Java driver, and net protocol pure Java driver. This is what we were using. The fourth kind of driver, NetPure, net protocol complete Java driver, pure Java driver, this one. So here it works on the basis of protocol, and the protocol we will be using is also being implemented by the vendor itself. We are least bothered about it. So all we need is simply take the driver and then work with it. Well, let's see. So what is the API? that Java has defined for this. So as I told you clearly, right? Like anything and everything is defined in Java in the form of interfaces only, and they define this in uh, Java.sql start. Matlab, this they have implemented everything in a package called Java.sql. So this Java.sql is complete set of interfaces, but it contains one class to support. The root interface of this Java.sql package is interface driver, but we don't work with methods of driver. Okay, so I don't discuss anything related to driver of driver related methods. Uh, Wait a second. You're telling with are your row numbers. Hmm. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. We don't work much with this driver. So how do we get this driver into our application is by the statement. So whenever you wanted to run your application, you need driver to be loaded along with the application. So here you need to write a small statement. Class is capital C. Class dot for name com dot mysql dot jdbc dot driver. Okay, so this one, which typically whenever you are trying to register a driver, it expects you to catch class not found exception. Right. Now, this is what you need to do whenever you wanna register a simple JDBC driver. Okay. So com dot commercial package of MySQL company. The module name is JDBC and the class name they have supplied is driver. This is the meaning. So the driver for you is an interface, but when you load it, it is basically a class version of this interface implemented by MySQL for the JDBC purpose. Am I clear? So when you get the driver, you don't get interface, rather you get implementation of the driver interface provided by MySQL. Similarly, this driver name for SQL Server will change com.microsoft.sql server com.microsoft.jdbc.sql server.driver, something like this. Okay. Similarly, for Oracle, this will change. So now, how do we know the name, Ram? Well, that will be provided by their documentation. You need not remember. So you will get a complete documentation whenever you are supposed to implement one driver, and you simply have to copy and paste whatever they have given as a part of documentation. Understood, na? Now, apart from this driver interface, there are so many important interfaces, but the major person what we have is Mr. a class called, okay, driver manager. So this driver manager has many methods to register driver, to deregister driver, get driver, all this kind of stuff. But the major method what we use from this fellow is get connection, and that's a public method. That's a static method. The return type is SQL connection, java.sql.connection called get connection. So this get connection method typically requires the URL and the username and the password for authentication. Now, what is the URL? So URL. So it typically takes what I mean the what do you call this? The formation of URL I'm telling. Typically, it takes protocol colon slash slash server IP address or name. Okay, na server IP address or server name colon port number on which it is that listening to. Slash the context name, which is nothing but our DB name, or we also call it as schema name. Okay, right. And question mark if you wanted to supply any additional attributes like datetime default value is null kind of stuff, additional info about the database connection. So this is what we call as what do you call this? The version or a style of URL. So here I will take a string db URL, and here I will take a string username, and here I will take a string password for authentication. So this typically will take the format of like this. Okay, so this takes URL will be in the form of jdbc colon mysql colon slash slash. This is your protocol, and local host, which is your server name 3306, which we have configured as a port number slash. Let's say our DBA name is Amazon. Okay, so this is what the URL will be, and the username is root, and password is also root for this one. So this is what typically we will supply when we were dealing with this. Okay, now what is this public static? The return type is connection. So we get a connection. So whenever you call this, you basically is returned with an open connection. So what this will return? Returns open connection which is in the state of open connection. Okay now, so here this is what we exactly get by calling this method get connection. All right, so when we get an open connection, okay, so how do we work with connection? That's our next point. Okay, a connection will get something like you called something and then you got a connection. So here the next interface we deal with is connection. So the connection is already open. I told you it returns you an open connection. So you need not worry to open it again. You cannot get a chance to open it. It is already open and returned to you. You can only close it by calling public void close. And if you wanted every statement which is run or every command that is run from the application, from your application, is to be automatically committed, you could say public void set auto commit as true. And a key boolean can auto commit. So here you will supply true, and then every a single statement that you are executing will be automatically committed. And now I said statement. So public return type is called as statement called, okay, create statement. So what this will do, it actually returns an open open statement for execution of SQL queries or carrying excuse me, for carrying SQL queries to DB. So what this statement will do, he will basically take our SQL query and then carries it all the way to the DB. Am I clear? So these are important, and apart from that, we have two different model of connection statements also. Prepared statement, prepare statement, and we have got something called as public callable statement called prepare call. We will discuss about these two a bit later on, not now, at the moment. Now first please understand, at the moment today we will deal with a statement object which basically helps us to carry our SQL query to all the way to the database server. Now after it has carried out, what is that we need to do here is we deal with the interface statement. So here, the statement which is already open state, we can only do public void close. And then the statement which is taking our query to be executed at database side can actually call public boolean execute method. So when you call public boolean execute, which will basically take string any SQL query, okay, so this has the capability to run the query and returns true if query is of select and contains result, false if query is of type DML, and okay, number of rows are updated. Remember this one. So this is how exactly the statement will work. Great. Now, how do we get the result, or how do we basically get the number of rows which are updated by this query? Well, you can call public result set called get result, and similarly you can call public int get updated count by calling this. Ram, what if I know that my query is particularly DML? What if I know my query is particularly of DRL select type? Well, I give you facilitation. Public, okay, na, int get, I'm sorry, execute update, which will take string DDL or DML query. That means you could actually call create, alter, drop, or insert, or update, or delete kind of commands. And then you have public result set is the return type called execute query, which actually takes string select query. So here it basically meant for only a select kind of query only. Make clear? So you cannot call one with another, but if you don't know what query is about to be executed, the best one is to go with execute method, and then based on the return type, if it gets true, you will understand, well, this is a select query, you got a result. If it returns false, you need to understand, this haven't got any result, that means it is a DML query. So something like this, but you basically can get the result by calling get result, and here you can call get updated count, or else you can deal with the execute update or execute query. I most of the times we used only these two queries, but very rare if somebody asks you to develop an SQL client kind of thing, wherein you can execute any kind of query and then get the result, well, you can use this one. Okay, clear, understood? So this is about statement TK. Ram, if it is written in number of rows updated, we can understand something. Chalo. What is this result set then? How do we work with result set? Well, there is an interface given to work with result set called result set. So here when you get result, it is in the form of iterator. You know iterator, right? So what's an iterator? You know iterator. So it will contain a buffer of collection based records where the pointer will be before the first record, and you will be iterating through has next or next. Similarly, it has got a function called next. So the next function returns public boolean next. It returns basically, it returns if result set has the next row or record in buffer. Then when I am there in the next record, I can call public type. This type, I could say the Java type or T type. Okay, now get type of I can supply in column index. So example, get string at the position of 1 returns varchar value received in first column, and the result. For example, if you say, assuming our query was select employee name comma sal from employee. So here what is that you are returning? Returns varchar comma double from employee table, right? So two columns, the first column is varchar and double as a second column. Okay, so this is what we get. Similarly, if you wanted to get another one, is string column name. That means you can get it from the column name also. For example, you can say here I would like to say rs dot, maybe your result set dot get the double from the column which is coming as salary. So here what it will do, it returns double val of salary column. So here you can get it on the name of the column also, or you will get it on the index of the column also. All right, so now that you are in a this one, you are in a result, you got the result, and every column you need to read it individually. Why? Because row is a combination of multiple columns. You seriously cannot predict how many how many columns you have got it. I make clear. So if somebody says key select star, you are gone case. So star means there are so many columns, you seriously cannot predict it. That's why you have to go and then fetch each column. Now what if I wanted to go back and see the previous result? In such a kind of case, please understand, you have to create statement. You have to create a statement using this model. So I'm giving you create statement which will take string result set type comma okay, what do you call this? This is an integer basically. Int result set underscore type int the result set underscore scroll. So these two values you can give while the time of creating a statement by calling public statement create statement. Okay, so what is this result set int and then scroll type? Result set updatable type, results with result scroll, and that's all. Two, not this one. So there are constants which are available in statement. These statements are like this: public static final int final public static final. So they are like result set conquer read only public static final result set conquer updatable. Then another is public static final result set uh, scroll sensitive. Then public static final result set scroll insensitive. Okay, so these are all the these this kind of statements. They're actually boolean statements. Okay, na? Final they're not final. I think they have a value will be set based on when you get it. So these values, when you basically set it. When you wanted to get a statement object, you have to supply one of these, two of these standards. Let's say, for example, here I will supply result set dot scroll underscore sensitive. One more thing is public static result set underscore scroll forward on. So these are the standards we have. By default, it comes as a result set forward only direction. If you say result set are scroll sensitive, comma, you can say result set dot underscore or dot. I don't remember. Basically, we never work with this because we work with a hibernate. Okay, result set dot. We call this concur updatable. By default, it comes as read only. So here I'll give the values. Read underscore only, I think it is, and this one is scroll forward only. This is what it will get if you don't give anything. You know, scroll, it's not scroll forward only kind of thing. So what happens over here is it will try to get a result set with this model. So whenever you get a result, you can either go in a forward direction or you can go in reverse direction also and then can see it. So those are based on the statements what you have set while the time of getting a statement object. So while the time of creating a statement, you can decide how it can be coming. We will see an example of it. Now, if you get it as a scroll sensitive or insensitive, based on that, you can jump to multiple places like this. Public Boolean last, which will take you to the last record. Public Boolean first, which will take you to the first record. Public Boolean previous, which will take you to the previous record. When you say next, it basically takes you to the next record. Now, as I said, your result set is updatable also. For example, that means whatever the result which is coming to the result set, you can actually update it. Well, if you can update it, you should be in a position to go to the new row where you can actually insert. So here you can say public boolean. It's not boolean. I think it's void. Public void. Go to insert row. So when you say this, it actually takes you to after last record where you can insert a new row. So here after going to this last row, okay, go to insert row, you actually can set public void set the type, okay, set string. You can supply int column index comma SQL type value. Okay, similarly, you could actually say public void set the type to a string column name comma SQL type val. So you can supply value to every column, and after you have got that one, you can say public void update, and it automatically updates this particular record back to the database. Okay, now similarly you can do the same thing by calling public void go to absolute row and then supply the row number. I don't remember this one properly, and then takes you to specified row, and from there you can actually set the values and then call the same update method, and then the record will be updated back. Okay, now you see this is how you basically can work with your result set. But what if you don't know how much or how many rows are there, how many columns are there in a result set which I have got? So to help you, there is an interface called result set metadata. So who is this result set metadata? Is, as you know, metadata stands for data of data, data about data. So this result set metadata give you the complete information about a result set. How do we get this object? By calling public, the return type is result set metadata. Get metadata is the method you need to call, and it returns you the result set metadata. Okay, now after you get this metadata, you could get every information about your result. Public int get column count, you will get how many columns are there, and you can get public string get display column name, when you can supply int column index. Similarly, you can also supply or a string column name also. Two methods are there, overloaded methods. So you will get what is the name to be displayed as a part of the result. You can get public string get column type, where you can supply int column index or string column name. You actually will get the column type int varchar, that kind of stuff. Similarly, public string get column size int column index, or you can supply string column name. It returns you the size of the column. Am I clear? Similarly, if you wanted to get public string get constraint name, and here you supply int column index or a string column name, it supplies you, returns you the kind of constraint it contains. Public string is null, what do you call this, is null load, or some method is there. It tells you if it is not null or null. Okay, and then you have got public, one more method is public boolean is primary column, which will take int column index or string column name, returns if it is a primary key column or not. So such a kind of few more methods are there which will help you to know each and everything about a result set metadata. I mean the metadata interface, which will facilitates you to know each and everything about a result that you are fetching from the database to the application. So these are the people which will help me in order to communicate to the database. So ultimately I would be doing, importantly, I would be doing four things. First of all, whenever I wanted to perform something, I need to have a driver registered. So at static level, I will register my driver by calling class dot for name, and here I will supply com dot mysql dot jdbc dot driver, and then this is my step number one, registering of the driver. And then second level, I would like to get connection by calling connection con is equals to driver manager dot get connection, and I will supply my URL over here, comma root. Okay, so you know the URL. How do we form the URL? So here you can form the URL in this way. A string URL is equals to something like this. This will be my URL. Okay, so the URL what I form, I would supply over here, and then whatever I have supplied, based on that I'll get my connection. Now after that I have got my connection, I'll try to create a statement. So as a third step, I will say statement is equals to, I'll simply say con dot create statement, and after statement is created, as a fourth step I will prepare my string SQL query, which is equals to, let's say for example, I wanted to insert a new row into department. So insert into department, and I would like to say, let's say some 100 or comma, let's say some test department, and my location 142 is what I have. So semicolon is not required because this query anyway carries out semicolon. So here I will say values. So that's my string URL. Now after this URL is ready, so I will take my fifth step as executing this using the statement query. So here, because this is an insert statement, it basically executes and returns number of shoes. So I'll say statement dot execute update of this SQL, something like this, or I would say string SQL is equals to select deptno comma department name from department, assuming I'm trying to show you both. Okay, SQL2, and this I said SQL1. So here statement of SQL1, it doesn't return anything, and as a sixth step I would like to say result set rs is equals to statement object dot execute query of this above SQL2. So after this returning an result set. So here as a seventh step, I would like to read it. So here I'll say while this rs dot next, and I will try to simply print these values as well. So here what I will do, I'll try to print, okay, a string dept, I'm sorry, int deptno is equals to rs dot get the integer value coming from the column 1, and similarly string department name is equals to rs dot get the string value coming from department name. You can give an either of the, I try to show you both of these queries, I mean both of the styles of calling it. So end of the season, months by when I have taken this both results for a single thing, system dot out dot print ln. So deptno and department name, something like this. On the top of this, I probably will try to print system dot out dot print ln heading department number department name. Okay, and then so there you go. So when you run this simple piece of program, it actually prints the setting and followed by all the values below. That's it. This is JDBC. Whether you write 100 programs, 1000 programs, whatever you do is only this much. Look at this piece of code in front of you and let me know if you have any.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, actually we didn't know how to establish a connection.
Yes, of course. It's not your cup of tea. That is a cup of tea of Mr. Driver Manager. Do you know how to connect to a network tower using your SIM? You don't know, right? That is the headache of
Yes.
your mobile phone, beta. He will take the burden. This fellow is implemented by the vendor itself.
Okay. So how do we get the URL? I mean the URL one. From where we'll
Oh,
generate
this
it?
one.
Yeah.
No. This one. You will have to understand this one. So here the protocol will change from one vendor to another vendor. Point number one. So this server, you know what is the server name? It is localhost or somewhere else you have installed the database, and you know the port number, and you know the database. It is not fixed. For example, if I have installed my database server in a remote server, which is basically 45 dot, let's say 67 dot 54 dot, let's say 234. Okay. Am I clear? So this is my IP address. In such a kind of case, and the query or the URL which I am supposed to be generated, and then let's say here I have installed it in not 3306, let's say 3308 is where I have installed, because 3306 is occupied by some other software, assuming. Then in such a kind of case, and there the username is admin, password is admin. In such a kind of case, and your database name is also something, you will be creating like this. Your protocol URL, string URL is going to be jdbc colon mysql colon / if you are using mysql database. What if you are using postgre or oracle? Well, this protocol will change. Well, you will get a documentation from the vendor, and from that you need to know and then understand. So here I will supply 45.67.54.234, which is my system colon 3308 is my port where I have installed / tcl_pl_app, which is my database name. Something like this. Now, you see, this is different than the below one what I have given, like Amazon, correct or not? And the username could be anyone, let's say admin, and the password could be anyone, admin123 kind of. So this protocol also, I cannot say what protocol we will be using for Oracle. You should get it from the current version of Oracle documentation. If you are using PostgreSQL, you will get something else. If you are using SQL Server, you will get something else. If you are using MongoDB, you will get something else. So this protocol will differ from one database to another database, but remaining part will be same. You need to give your IP address of the server, port number of the server where you are installing, and followed by database name. Okay, na?
Yes, sir.
When you listen, one more point. When you download a driver, na, you basically get a sample of it. Let's say I'll go to the downloads part, wherein I recently have extracted this MySQL for you. I was showing you this. You can see this is my driver. Agreed. But in the source file, there is a README file also. You could actually read me. So this is release of MySQL connector J, Oracle's dual license JDBC driver for MySQL, and he will give you all whatever the way you have to use. Okay, he gives you each and everything about the license agreement, and then you go to your SRC. There you will find so many. You go to demo, fabric, and you have client fabric, employee JDBC, everyone. Let's say I would like to go for employee data source. So here he give me a sample. So here you can see com.mysql fabric test measure host name, something like this. So he will give you all. Okay, so you can say connection reconnection equals to data source dot get connection of user and password. So class dot for name com dot mysql dot fabric jdbc fabric mysql driver. This is a fabric driver. Am I clear? So he has given you jdbc for fabric driver. So something like this. And if you wanted to go for normal, well, you will get another one. Okay, so this is a client fabric. So you will get so many other also. Am I clear? So documentation also you will get the documentation form.xml, and you could actually see the development com.mysql.jdbc. This fellow is a driver. Okay, so fabric is different than normal JDBC. So I am interested in using normal JDBC, not the fabric driver. It is up to you. Now, if you wanted to know the documentation also, you will get it. by downloading. Like you can get samples and examples of how to use this one using MySQL driver, and Oracle.com provides you all such kind of stuff. I got habituated, so I'm telling you. But you have to go and then see the documentation for everything. Your team leader or technical architect will provide you all such stuff. What is that you are supposed to call, where you are supposed to get the information from. Clear? Now, the point you need to understand is, the main point here you need to understand is something like this. You see, in my application also, when I'm speaking about web application, this is my web client, and this is my middleware, and here is my database. Sometimes, so this JDBC layer will work as a mediator between my application and the database. So here is my JDBC layer. Here it supplies all SQL version, and here, because I am a Java layer, I understand only Java version. So what is this, Ram? I didn't get it. You see, the JDBC layer should take the responsibility of taking the Java version of input and supply it as a SQL kind of input to the database. And similarly, when I get an SQL type of output to this JDBC layer, he is returning me in the form of a Java version. Okay, very good. So here I am bringing him, and then I am getting. So what is the Java version of output I am getting is my result set. But please try to understand. When you are saying it is a result set, you might supply in your application. For example, I'm saying you might supply only one layer, this layer, and the other person who is developing a client layer to call this part may not understand how to work with this result set. So it is always suggested, do not let the middle layer speak to any database specific components. What I mean to say, JDBC specific components. He should not speak or understand what is a connection, what is a statement, and he also should not understand what is a result set. Sure. So what is that he should understand then? He must give you any input in the form of a Pojo file. So input must be given in the form of a Java file, and he also should get output or response in the form of a Java file again. That means this application should be only with Java files, whereas the Java file should be converted to result set, and here this must be converted to SQL query. Something like this. Extra work to be taken care by a JDBC layer. Who will do that work? Do that work. We will bring in someone called as DAO, Data Access Object. Name of this person is Data Access Object, who helps me in accessing the database. So he will contain operations for save, update, and also delete, and also get list. What is this get and list? Get a single row, get multiple rows. Am I clear? Select single row, select multiple rows, delete record, save a record, or insert a record, or a update a record. So these are all the functions we should do. So how do we pass data to him? In the form of a Java file. And similarly, how do we get the output in the form of a Java file? Ram, why Java file? Dekho, I told you he could stay in a separate server where the database persists, and I may in a separate server where a client is slightly connected. A client could be in a separate server. How the data is being passed between all of these layers? In the form of serialization. So I must have a serialized object over here to which I will supply the values and then pass it up. And he also have to return me the values in the form of a serialized object, and I will supply the serialized object back to the client so that he can display the output. So here what is that what we are going to write is we will develop a small functionality of let's say adding some products. Okay, so at the upmost level I have a table. Let's start from here. I have a database called Amazon, and in the database Amazon I have a table called, let's say, category, and then I have a table called product. So look at this category. This category might have columns like ID, integer, category name, varchar. Okay, now product might have ID, integer, and category ID, integer, foreign key, two category IDs. Okay, now it's a foreign key to category ID. And then you have product name, which is varchar, and you have got price, which is let's say integer, and you have some quantity, which is an integer. So these are my tables, two tables. Okay, so intention is here at the client level I have a small UI in which the end user is entering add category, category name, and he supplies me a text box to fill it, and then probably he may have a small this one called save. Here he may supply sports. Now these value that he has supplied as a sports, when I click on this save button, will be passed to the middleware. Okay, so this is my add category.html through which I'm supplying the data. Now it is received, I'm thinking it is passed and then being received by a middleware layer. Okay, so this middleware layer have to receive it, received input. What is the input he has received is the category name, or I could say call it as a CNAME. So what is that he will do? He has to pass it to, for ultimately this table to be saved. So what is that I do to support this category table? I'll create a class, a public class called category, who implements serializable. Now this fellow who is of type serializable, am I clear, will be supplied to support one table. So let's say I'll remove this public, maybe I'll get some space. Great, now I'm getting some space. So class category. Okay. Now this fellow have int ID, which is of type private int ID, and private string category name. So I would have some public void set ID as well as get ID, and I will also have public void set cname, get cname, and this is what we basically call as entity. So when you develop Hibernate in future, when you know it, on the head of this name we will say @entity, and we will say @table, which will be double quotes में category. So by specifying this, I'm telling the underlying system Hibernate that, yeah, this is an entity which represents a table category. So whenever you look at the class file, please understand I am speaking to a category table. That is the meaning. Okay. Now what happens is, so here I have a category table to which I am planning to insert the record. So the record of CNAME, what I get, JSX sports. So here what I will do, I will try to create this category object, I'll say category cat is equals to new category, and after supplying this, so creating this object, I'll say cat dot set cname of the above input cname whatever we have received, and then I will create category DAO CDAO is equals to new category DAO. So who is this category DAO? Is the person who contains that JDBC kind of code. I'll say CDAO dot save of this cat. So what that fellow will have? So that candidate, he will have piece of code like this class category DAO. The previous code we have seen, right? Connection and all. He will have such a kind of code, and the code he has what he will write like this. Con is equals to some get connection method. He'll get his connection, and after that he has got connection, he will say statement is equals to con dot create statement, and then after he has got a statement, he will say st dot execute update of. So the query whatever you have formed over here. So this is my SQL. So what is SQL I have formed now? Here is my SQL which is formed. So here is my string SQL is equals to insert into a table name category CName is what I am planning to insert values cat dot get CName. You could ask me now, what is this cat is all about? I didn't get it. So here you would have a method public, okay, now void save, which would take category cat as a input. So from this cat, which is getting, he'll try to create this one, and then finally he'll save it, and then he will say st dot close and the connection dot close, and that's how his method ends. You see this one? What exactly I'm trying to do is I am trying to frame this SQL from a Java input. This is what the main work of DAO. He will frame an SQL query to be executed at the server end with the given input of this entity. So here from this layer who works as a controller between you and the UI, he is basically calling ultimately DAO and will trying to call this save method. Okay, to the same method he is supplying category. So what is category? The one which is representing the category table, and then after this one, okay, now this is the category, and then ultimately he will pass up this one using the statement object and will try to execute that update method. So at the server end, the statement object will execute this insert, and then the row will be inserted to the table. Understood now? So this is what we will develop. Now for time being, we do not have this HTML or a servlet kind of stuff. For time being, we don't touch this. Am I clear? Or we can touch this, no problem. Nobody can stop us. We can touch this part and then we will learn it also. But here, have you observed something? I have no idea about these 3 points here. So he has no clue on connection, what is it? On statement, what is it? And result set, what is it? So here, even if you wanted to result also, you will give it in the form of Java only. Collection of objects. If you are getting more rows, you will get collection of objects. If you get a single row, you will get one object, something like this. Okay. So now, what I will do, I will try to create a small DAO for the category, and I'll try to create all the methods for it. Okay. Shall we? Concept of the this is the flow.
So each SQL statement should be written by DAO DAO
Yes.
class only, sir.
ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ నో దాంట్లో కూడా మనం ఏం చేస్తామంటే ఇప్పుడు ఈ డిఏఓలో మీరు రాసే ప్రతి డిఓలోను if you are writing this connection, if you're writing this statement, if you're writing this whatever, if you are trying to get this connection, let's say, as I told you previously, I just showed you, where is this? If you remember, I have 143 tables in my database. Do you remember? Previously, I shown you TCLP lab in the afternoon session, morning session. So if I have 143 tables, that means I am trying to write 143 DOs, and it is really not suggestible to write a connection related settings into Mr. DO. Why not? Why? Because tomorrow, if you're changing your database, all the, I mean, changing the database in the sense like you are moving from MySQL to something else, then username, password, kind of stuff, everything that you have written a DAO, 143 DAOs should be changed. So that's an odd practice. Then what is that I am supposed to do, Ram? Well, you need to bring a pattern called factory pattern who will supply this connections. Okay, na? So here what is that we bring is connection factory who supply us connection. So whenever there is a change in the database or username or password or anything, I'll do only one change where in the connection factory, and that's all. He will supply me connections based on the new settings. This is what we call as factory pattern. Second, this is what we call as ORM pattern. ORM stands for object to relational mapping. Look at this here, a class object is getting mapped to a table, object to relational mapping. So here I am mapping an object with a table, and I'm trying to define the same kind of structure in my class also to meet the structure of the columns in a table. Am I clear? This is called as ORM practice. Okay, so please understand you are implementing ORM standard also here. And then DAO pattern is what it says that everything should be in DAO. He should be the only authorized person to speak to the database. Middleware should not contain anything about any idea about where is the database, what is the table, no, nothing. He should deal only with these exposures, and supply them to DAO and keep quiet. Okay, so this is what we call as DAO pattern. So we will implement all of them, and then you also will understand, like, how do we achieve a code reusability by using something called as jdbc template. So this jdbc template is in Spring jdbc template. I'm trying to teach you the same kind of style. Whatever has been implemented by Spring, the same thing we will also implement. Okay, now step by step. There are so many layers involved. One by one, we will understand. For example, in order to implement communication from client, and here you have middleware, and you have DO. DO के पहले you have model or entity, and you have your database table. So now at the client level, what we write is basically add category dot html or JSP page. Okay, so this is what we write. Now in the middleware part, we will take this. Okay, so we have to receive this request category controller, and then here at the DO level, we basically have so many people. One is called as what do you call this? Amazon DO, which is an interface, specifies rules and all regulations, and then this is implemented as someone called as jdbc template, who is a what do you call this? A class JDBC template who implements this, and then you have someone called as category dev who calls this JDBC template to perform certain actions, and we have someone called as connection factory to supply the connections and other stuff. Okay, now here the model and entity is what is common between both this middle layer and DAO. So here I have a class called category implement serializable. Now this class, serializable class, okay, basically is a model representing the database. And finally, at the database level, I have a TVL underscore category. So this is what we are developing now. Please understand. Next time onwards, whenever you have to implement, these three are not supposed to be implemented. However, the DOs will be implemented as many as possible. Okay. So here it comes. A HTTP request will come all the way to the middleware. The server translates HTTP to server-side protocol request, and then controller will take this request of whatever he is asking, and he'll try to supply the data to the middleware, which is as model, and then he will give the model to the DO. So what DO will do, as I told you, he is the only authorized person to speak to database table. I mean, clear, he'll take the help of methods that are defined in this Amazon DO as well as JDBC template, and using connection factory, he'll get the connection. Using category DO, he'll try to call insert method of adding into table category. Okay, so the new record what you are entering over here will be passed all the way to table category, and then he returns to this fellow key, it is successful, and then this fellow will return a response back to add category.html. Things are good and one record is been inserted. Understood now? So this is our practice. I have a note of everyone. Whatever you see over there, you have to note down. So this interface can be simply DAO or Amazon DAO बोलने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. You can call it as simply DAO. Understood? Clear? Shall we implement it?
Yes, sir.
Great. Now I will come down here to our project. And parallelly, I'll try to open my administrator, my SQL admin. Catalogs. So I will remove this HRMS, which is drop the schema, and I'll try to create a new schema called Amazon. And within this Amazon schema, which is created, I'll try to create a new table, and I'll give the table name as category. So here I have my ID, which is integer, and I have cat name, which is varchar 45, or you can call it a C name, by the way. But cat name is more understandable, so I keep the name as cat name for time being. And I'll say apply changes, execute is been created. So close, and then I'll still go for a new table. Let's say create table, and I call this table as product. So here I have ID, and I have CID, which is, or I could say cat ID, which is integer, and product name, varchar, price, integer, and quantity, integer. Right. So apply changes. Execute.
Sorry, you forgot to give foreign key relation with that.
No, never give a foreign relation while the time of creation of table. That's the rule. Basically, the two tables must exist. I mean, like it's something like this. If you wanted to establish a son and father relation also, both should exist. And then the relation will establish. After son is born only, the relation will be established. Something like that. So here, after creation of table only, it should be established. You can create time, you can give it, no problem. For example, something like this, you can say like this. So create table product, you can say id integer primary key auto underscore increment, and then you can say like this, cat id integer, okay, foreign key references category tables id. This is okay. I mean, like this is allowed, but writing this like this is not standard. It is always suggested you please create a table first and then establish a relation. So here I'll go to foreign key, create product underscore category, and I'll say okay, and choose my reference table, which is category id, and reference column is id. My current column is not id. What is this? Cat id. So now the current column cat id is pointing to id of the category table, and I'll say apply changes, and cannot create a foreign key constraint. Could be this is a varchar I have here. What happened to me? Shit. Apply changes, execute. Okay, now it is established. Close. Now that foreign key is being created for this both tables. Okay, so here I'll come back. Now my table is ready. Okay, my table is ready, and here I will go with the CMR project. So here is my Amazon project. Yesterday we were practicing this index HTML files. I'll remove all of them, and in WebNF also, whatever I have added into the library, I'll remove them. And I have created some entries in web products. This also I will try to remove. Control is, I'll keep it pretty plain. Okay, so these images also I keep it. Okay, I'm not using it anyway. So we have JRE system. It's pretty simple. It's a plain project now. I do not have any even thing. So slowly I'll create everyone. Now, what all I need is here it is. So I require category.html, one servlet, DAOs, entities. Okay, so this connection factory and all, you can call them into utils, or you can keep it over there if you are interested to generate factory based things. No problem, either of the way this is okay to me. So this table part is over. So first part is completed. This is done. So 1, 2, 3, 4 layers are pending for us to create. So let's come back and then create web content, right click, new HTML file. Okay. Add category.html. Click on next, and whatever the version if you want. You can take HTML strict 4.1 strict. It contains nothing but simply the body and the cursor. HTML transaction if you take, there also you will have something simple. People who have 4 version I am saying, okay now, if you don't have these things, like I mean, if it is allowing you to take 5, choose 5 and click on finish. So here it has created. Now I will try to open this with the HTML editor. Now this is pretty simple. Here I'll say form. क्या हो गया? Hang up. So form element should take 2 things. Form action is equals to where I'm supplying. Method is equals to in what way I am supplying. Okay. So here method must be post, because we are sending it in encrypted format, and here I will supply category controller. Now within which I would like to say enter category name, and input type is equals to, I'm saying text, and name is equals to, I'm trying to say category name, or you should give the same name what is that is being given in the table. Okay, now cat name and slash. Is it required? You can say okay, REQUIRED. So you said required, that means it runs a validation on it, and then you say simply BR, and then below you could say input type is equals to something called as submit, and whose value is add a category. So here I'll say add category, or simply save or add, or anything you can do. It is up to you. Control S. So the client layer is also ready. So we are done with this layer. Okay, this layer is done, completed. This layer is also done. It is completed. Who are pending?
Sir, you have not given the script to user, no sir, to enter manually for the user. Script you should
Which
write, no
one?
sir.
Which
I
script?
mean
Which?
JavaScript for
Why?
entering category for entering his name, category name.
That is input I'm giving now. Why you I need a script for it? JavaScript. For what purpose JavaScript is required? I'm showing him a text
Okay,
box.
okay, sir. Okay, sir.
If I have to validate, I need. Let's say, for example, if I'm saying run on the server. Okay, so let's see how it will be running. That's what I will get. So enter category name, and I'll click on add category. So if I click on add category, it says key, this is required file. So this internal JavaScript has been written for this page. I need not worry about it. So here he will be supplying some test, and then click on add query, add category. Now it will take it all the way to the controller who is not available at the moment. So it says 404 not. No need to write any JavaScript. Okay, come back. Now, in the welcome file, I will call this fellow as a index, let it be index. Okay, fine. Okay, fair enough. Now that one out of all these 2 different layers, 2 layers are completed. Who is the next layer to be done? Basically speaking, the way you develop the project is reverse engineering. So the most independent entity of the project will be your table. So the first person to be developed, and after table the most independent person to be developed is your entity. And the most, I mean, for the first time when you are creating the project at the level itself, please try to understand, at the 0th level itself you have to create your factory or utility classes, and then the table, and then the entity, and then the view, and finally the fourth one, DAO. Here you can, after entity you can create DAO, and then as a fourth person you can actually design your view, which is your UI page, and finally as a fifth person the last one to be created is Mr. Controller. Okay, so this is how we are supposed to develop. So common utilities and all are supposed to be developed in the first level, not the UI. However, we have created the UI. We will close this fellow. Now I will come to SRC. I'll primarily create multiple packages. I'll say new package. So I will give this package name form dot your company name CMR dot. What is the purpose of this you are writing? Amazon product dot. What is the library you are writing? Is common. This is one common. And then here I have right click new package. Again here I'm saying com dot cmr dot amazon dot, okay, and then DOS. This is one package, and refresh new Java package com dot cmr dot amazon dot entity, and finally right click new package com dot cmr dot amazon dot controller. Great. Now I will refresh this fellow. You see, there are 4 packages. You can understand all the 4 different kind of layers that you are able to develop. So as I told you, common utilities package is the one which is supposed to be implemented before everyone and anyone. So here I'll try to common package and create a new Java class, and whose name I will keep as or Amazon connection factory. Many people call this as a DB factory, DBcon factory. So what is this DBcon factory will do is he supply me connections whenever I want. So here I will simply say import java.sql.star. He is the only person who will supply me connections whenever I want. Okay. Now here on the top level I will create a private ticket. So I'll have public static return type is connection called get connection is the method I am trying to call. So return con is he is supposed to give. So what is the connection here? I'll create connection con is equals to null. I'm creating a connection, new connection I wanted to create every time, and I have a try, and I have a catch exception e, and I want to print that exception system.out.println of e, and then here I will say, so this class dot for name must be executed on the static level. I have a static block, okay, in which I'll try to say try catch exception e, which is basically class not found exception. So S out of the so e. So here I would like to say, okay, class dot for name. So I need to supply com dot mysql dot jdbc dot driver. So that's what I said. Like, I'm trying to get a jdbc driver. So that is what I am registering at the static level. What do you mean by static level, Ram? When the application loads, this driver will be registered for this particular class. Great. Super. So he is available openly to everyone. And then con is equals to, I will say, driver manager dot get connection to whom I will supply this username, URL, and password. So I know my username, which is root, and I also know my password, which is also something. So these elements, what I have, I would like to create over here as private static string URL is equals to something, and private static string username is equals to something, and I will say private static string password is equals to something. Am I clear? So in fact, you can actually create them like is equals to null, and here is equals to null, and here also is equals to null, and at the static level, only for one time you could initiate them. So URL, you can say username is equals to, so the username is root, password is equals to root, and you could say URL is equals to something. What is this? jdbc colon mysql colon slash slash localhost colon 3306 slash. You can give your database name also statically, but I'm saying this is Amazon. So in future, I basically can come and then change this if it is required for me. So for time being, what I'm saying is at static level, I'm initiating all of them. The value URL is not being used. It says you have created, however, you haven't used. So here I would like to use. So here I will say URL, and here I could say username, and here I could say the password that I have initiated. Now the connection what I have created inside the try, I will return this connection whenever somebody call me get connection. Okay, now am I clear? So ultimately I am getting it from driver manager only, but whenever somebody call get connection, I create a new connection object and return this. It's a new connection object every time. So this is what Mr. DB conf factory will do. Control S, done. So whenever you wanted a connection, you simply have to say DB confactor dot get connection. You will get a connection. Now this is my utility class. Now I'll come to DO, right click, new, and interface. So why do we need an interface? Is it compulsory that we need an interface to be used? Not necessarily. Please understand, it is not necessary. But it is suggested that if you wanted to follow certain rules and regulations for entire your project, it is better you have to have it. So I have an interface called DAO. So here in the DAO, I would like to create certain methods. Public void save, which will take object obj to be saved, and then public void update object obj or entity to be done, and then public void delete object obj to be deleted. In fact, you could actually take this in the version of integer id, and whenever you wanted to public return type is object called get, which will take integer id, and you will return an object based on the primary key. Public list of object, okay, called list. Now here something like this one. Am I clear? So please try to understand whenever you wanted to get. So these are the methods you have primarily. So one for insert. So this method helps us insert a new record. This is basically update existing record. Okay, this is for delete unwanted record, and this one is return a record for a primary key ID, and then this one is basically return all records from a table. Clear? So these are all the things which are supposed to be given. I said key it's mandatory. Everybody have to have these 5 methods minimum. DAO means. Over to this, if you wanted to have any more methods, you can have it also. Conditional based methods or whatever it is. Okay, it is up to you. Now you can write any number of methods, but I say only these many. Okay, these are the base minimum control S. Now this is an interface. So here I will come down and create a new class called Amazon DAO. So what is this DAO will do? He actually implements all such methods, make clear all such methods, and then he will take a decision what to be written, how to be written kind of. So this fellow implements this interface. Let's say this class Amazon DAO implements
Sir, I
this.
have a question.
Yes, please.
Sir, we are statically initializing connection every time, no, sir. We don't
No,
need
who
to.
said? No. Who said statically? Connection is not at static level. Connection is inside the method. Or else only one connection will be used by everyone. I will die. So every time somebody comes, a new connection is to be established. Static
When
level
does it?
पे
Okay, when does it close, sir? After user ends, user is leaving or what? Connection will close.
connection we will only close as a part of the code only we will close. You will see that. I mean,
Okay,
wait, in this we will close it. I haven't come to the code part yet. Don't worry. Okay,
okay,
na?
sir.
Now the point here, Amazon DAO is the person basically who will try to help us to write this piece of code. To get an object or to return an object, kind of stuff. So because he is implementing a DAO, I would like to implement all the unimplemented methods. These are the methods that are added. So when I have clicked on all, I mean, all implemented, unimplemented methods, they are added. So I'll minimize this. Okay, now see this. I wanted to implement these methods, but please understand, I am not interested in writing boilerplate code. What do you mean by boilerplate code is adding so many plates at the boiler level is called boilerplate code. So I will take the help of again the DB factory kind of utility person, and where or in the DAO itself, I will try to create a new utility class. Okay, common utility classes, right click new Java class, and I'll call this fellow as a jdbc template. So what is this jdbc template will have is he will have a same set of methods what that fellow also have, which this one. Is this clear? So he will have methods like this. So here he will have a public void save. He will take string SQL to be used. And similarly, he has got public void update. He will take string SQL to be updated. And here again he will have public void delete, to which he will supply string SQL to be used. Something like this, or he can have a single method like this, public execute DML query string SQL, and he will do that. And similarly, he will have result type public result set called get result for a string SQL, and he will return the result. So these are the only two different kind of methods what we can execute at database level. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to write some generic functionality called jdbc template and use this fellow wherever and whenever I want. easy to make myself very easily. So here I will use import java.sql.star, and then within this, here I will say try, and here I will say catch exception E, and we'll try to say system.out.println of that E. Okay, now as a part of this try, on the top of this, I will try to say connection con is equals to, now I have my db con factory dot get connection, and here I will say statement is equals to, I need to get. So here it is always suggested, instead of getting this value, you simply have to say null. Now this connection what you have after the catch, it is suggested finally you could actually say the con dot close. So here the error message says ki unhandled exception, actual exception are supposed to be handled. So here also you have to say try, and catch exception E, system.out.println of E. You see these many kind of handlers are there. What if you are writing this kind of unnecessary code in every DO in every method, correct or not? So it is better to write them in this way. Statement.close and con.close, and this is what I am having finally. So this is how I am closing them. Okay now. Now I'll take this one Control C and Control V, and here I will say result set rs also is equals to null, and because I need to return result set end of this finally method, I'll simply say return rs. This is what my work is. Now within which I need to get the result and return. That's all. Make clear? So the connection and all are supposed to be initiated over here. I'll say connection con is equals to db con factory dot get connection, and I'll say statement is equals to con dot create statement, and then I will say statement dot execute update of the SQL query which is coming to me. That's it. My work is over. See the SQL what I am getting, I am directly executing it. My work is over. Am I clear? And then if at all, if you wanted to say this connection, the one whatever is been done successful or not, you could actually supply a boolean value as a return. So here after successfully executing, I'll say return true, or here if something goes wrong, error comes, I will say return false, saying that bhaiya something went wrong. By default, I wanted to say return true. That means something went successful. So this is what I will do. Similarly, here also I'll try to take the same kind of thing, Control C and Control V, but with one statement, key R is equals to, instead of execute update, I'll say execute query. That's it, and I'll return RS. My work is over. Control S. This is what my jdbc template will do. So here there is execute DMS nahi, I'm sorry, DML query, and then get results. Okay, now execute DML query, or you can call it as an execute DRL query, which will return a result also. Understood na? Am I clear, Pillalu? Okay, so here you can call it as an execute update also. In fact, execute update, this is a better way to use it. And here instead of get result, you can say execute query. Execute query. So two simple names which are already there as a JDBC. I have used same queries. You see, this is execute query and this is execute update. Okay, so the same methods I am also using. So simple. This is what we call as a boilerplate, which is a repeatable code where I don't wanted to repeat this. No, as a part of Amazon DO, which I will call this Amazon DO public abstract class Amazon DO. Why I'm saying it as an abstract class is I don't implement these two methods. What are they? The get part as well as this one. Or I can implement also. Nobody can stop me. So here I'll still make myself as abstract, forcing everyone to extend me. I don't want anyone to create instance of mine, but I want everyone to extend me. So what is that I will do here is please understand this Amazon DAO doesn't have any capabilities basically. So I may create an insert query for category. I may create an insert query for product. I may create an insert query for user. I may create an insert query for what do you call this, credit card or anyone. So I seriously cannot predict what query may come to me. So he will simply create a protected string called SQL. Now this SQL is what he will be executing over here. So whenever somebody calls it, let's say for example, I slightly change this one. This save or update also I will say Boolean is what the return type. Here also I will say Boolean is the return type. And here also I will say Boolean is the return type. Why Boolean is the return type? Why? Because I wanted to return either true or false, mentioning whether it is successfully executed or not. Control S. Now here in Amazon Div also we'll call this Boolean, and here also I will call this Boolean, and here also I will call this Boolean. Okay, now who have implemented these methods is like it's already there at a JDBC template. So all I need is I simply have to say return. Okay, so by the way, this JDBC template, these two methods what I have, I will also call them static methods so that I can call them directly. The importance of writing static method is you can call them directly with one instance of JDBC template. So here what I will do, I will say JDBC template dot execute update of SQL. That's what I will do. Done. The same I will write over here to do code of this part also. And same I will write over here to do part of this also. You would be wondering, Ram, who will implement these methods? Like you will see that one. So here what Amazon DO is doing, he has an SQL protected and he is supplying that SQL, okay, which is not initiated at the moment. He will supply that SQL to JDBC template. Whatever is been written by JDBC template, he will return it back to you. Okay. Now here, as a part of this also, he will call return. So control Z. Now he cannot call this one. So what I will do, I will keep them unimplemented as it is. So instead of saying override, so this is an abstract method, and that means I haven't implemented them. Okay, I don't know how to implement it, so I have left them as it is. Now this is my Amazon DO, wherein he has implemented, he has given 80% of the implementation, which is save, update, delete. He has given these two methods. He don't know how to implement, so he left it. That's the reason why he is an abstract class. Now which class is taking the help from? JDBC template. Great. Control S. Now what I will do is every class that I create as a part of my Amazon project, I may have 100 200 tables in future. Every DAO corresponding to Amazon will be simply extending Amazon DAO so that he can get the benefit of these three methods. Now you will understand how we will get the benefit of these three methods. So step by step, I'll bring this fellow here. So step number one, we develop DB connection factory who helps us to create a connection. Step number two, we created a JDBC template common utility layer who facilitates us the code of communicating to database. Two methods of which is to call insert update delete methods, and this is basically to call select. Simple. So all CRUD operations we can perform using this first, and then to facilitate key what kind of methods must be there in every DAO, we have written save, update, delete, get, and list. And then here Amazon DAO who provides us 80% of common functionality, and he is the person implementing DAO and giving all the 5 methods readily available to be used. Now, last but not least, in the DAO, I would like to go for, by the way, now the DAO is always depending on entity. That's what I said. Here, I'll come back. So what is that we have done so far is a factory utility class we have implemented, table we have created. Do we create this entity? No, we haven't. So we haven't created DAO also. Only common DAOs we have created, particular DAO we haven't created, but this is done. So let's see. We will create an entity and then the DAO for that particular table. What is the table? Category. So how many columns are there? ID, cat name. All right. So I'll come to entity, right click, new Java class, and I'll call this class name category, and I'll say implements serializable. Okay. Now this fellow will contain private int ID, private string cat name. So here you could actually give small n, no problem. Now I will have to supply public setters and getters. Now when you learn Hibernate in future, you will write @entity and you will write @table. Okay, here you will supply name is equals to category. On the head of this ID, who is your primary key, you will say @ID, saying that this is an identity column, and you will say generated. That means he's automatically generation, and you will say strategy is equals to generation type dot identity. MySQL and SQL Server, they supports identity type. Okay. Now here on the head of this, you will say @column. So you will say name is equals to ID. Okay. Space or comma. Type is equals to int. You can give size and other stuff also. This is how you are actually mapping. On the head of this, you will say @column. This is what you do when you come to Hibernate. That is the importance of writing this entity and learning it now itself. Name is equals to cat name, and the type is equals to, let's say, varchar, and so on. You will give whatever size is required, null or not kind of stuff. So this is how you write. Now these private columns are supposed to be provided with getters and setters. So all you need is right click, choose something called as source, and then you can say generate setters and getters, and then choose the columns you wanted to generate setters and getters. Okay, and here you go, you have got your code generated. That is the facility you get when you are working with IDE. Control S. Now why I am teaching you this is, in future if you learn Hibernate, when you become Spring and Hibernate developers, you should get it. Arey, that's it. Acha, Amsa ne tab bola na, this is what we are doing. So you don't find it very much difficult. Am I clear? So you will find the way we are doing, in the same way you will work in Hibernate in future also. So this is basically to create a serializable ID. You can basically add an ID also, chalega. Even if you don't add an ID also, chalega. Okay na? Control S. Now you see this category is created. I have commented because this is not required at the moment, but this is required when you work with, you know what, Hibernate. Now here you could actually, what else we have? I'll come to the DAO, right click, new Java class I'm creating, और जिसका नाम है category DAO. So from now onwards, I am implementing my actual classes. So till now, DB Factory, jdbc template, DAO and Amazon DAO are my structural common elements. Now I am implementing actual elements. The first element I am implementing is the entity. The second element I am implementing is Mr. DAO. So this category DAO, I will simply say extends Amazon DAO. Now by saying this, I will be forced to implement those two methods, get and list. Okay, so here I'm not only this one, I am interested in implementing remaining methods also. So I can right click, go to source and go override implement methods. You can choose, I wanted to implement all these three methods also, and I get them. Now look at this, what I am trying to do. Return super.save of object. This is cool, but what is that I will do is, okay, this object which comes to me is a category. That's what I said. You can see this one. This fellow controller supply every value which is received by this to the category and supply this category to the DAO. This is what we have discussed, and then DAO will read everything from this and supplies them as an insert method to the DB table. This is what we have identified. Now the work of the DAO is to supply the insert method. How do we supply this insert method? Now what I will do, I will say category cat is equals to category version of OBJ. This is what I will do as a step number one. What is this you are trying to do, Ram? Dekho, I will get an object in a generic format, and when I get that object, I am converting that into category. Why category? Yeah, I am a type of DAO category. I will get only category object at runtime. So from this category, I will form my string. Okay, how this string will be formed? I'll say SQL is equals to something. Okay, where is your SQL? Where is your SQL? Arey yaar, come on, this SQL is there from my Amazon DAO. You can see this one, Amazon DAO.SQL. My parent is having this SQL protected for us, so we can actually use it. So the same SQL he is passing, the same SQL he is passing to be used in every query, execute update query. So all I need is to form this SQL of my parent and call the parental method. So here I will say insert into, understood na? Insert into, what is that? Category table, cat name, values. I need to supply a value. Where is the value available? Value is available in cat. So here I will supply, concatenate the value to be supplied as cat dot get cat name. So I get the name that is supplied through category and I'm inserting, and I call this method, and I'll take the same piece of code, Control C, and then put it over here, and same piece of code and put it over here. So here I don't need category, and I require, because I have an ID directly. So all I need is, here I need to say update category set cat name is equals to whatever the value that is being supplied. Cat dot get cat name, where ID is equals to, ID is also supplied by the above object only, cat dot get ID. So I will supply ID to be modified as well as name to be modified in this object, and using that object he is writing the update query. So I'm making the code to be used dynamically in future. So here when it comes to this one, I will simply say delete from category and will supply where ID is equals to ID which is coming to me on the top, this one, and I will pass that one. Okay, so the query that I am forming in these three will simply go to my super class and will be executed. So everywhere, let's say tomorrow you write a product DAO, you will write it in the same way. You write some other DAO, you will write it in the same way. All you need is extend your Amazon DAO and supply the query. This is what your effort must be. You need not write the same piece of code again and again and again. This code you should not write. This code must be only at one place. And this is how you basically get a standard way of writing code. Now, how about this one run? This is also too important, right? Yes, this is important. I have a beautiful answer or solution for it. Well, I have an ID from which I need to get the value. So here I will supply SQL, whatever my parent have is equals to, I will say select ID comma cat name from category where ID is equals to the supplied value ID. This is my query. And I know jdbc template object, okay, dot execute query of this SQL, return me a result set. So here I will say RS is equals to. So who is this RS? I don't have an RS, man. Okay, you are not supposed to use this in this way. Well, you are supposed to declare result set protected result set RS. That's all. So you can even say is equals to null by default. And you can also say this is equals to null. This is a better way. And results at java.sql. Now you see this result set RS will be used by everyone. Let's say in this place of this RS, I have got my RS. Great. Now I need to return the category which is coming on this name. So all I need is if I say if RS dot next, that means I know that only one record which is coming to me. If I have at least one record, I need to frame the category. So I will say category cat is equals to new category. I'm creating a new object of category. If rs dot next this rs. Okay. If rs dot next. So here it says key it should handle some exception. Chalo to take no problem. I'll handle an exception. Try catch exception key, and I will say system.out.println of key. So I will say return an object called category. Simple. So here I am checking this rs is equals to something. So if rs dot next, before that I will say if rs not is equals to null and rs dot next. This is what you need to say. That means the result set what you are getting could be null also. If something goes wrong at that level, you will get it as a null object. So I'm doing if it is not null and if it has at least one row. Am I clear? Understood now? If it is not null and it has got at least one row, I will say cat dot set the ID coming as rs result set dot get the integer coming from the column called ID. Similarly, category dot set the cat name coming from the result set dot get the string value coming from the column called cat name. You see, the code is pretty much flexible. I can clearly see what I'm getting, what I'm setting. Okay, and once I have set these two, I'll return catch. Now the point here, I can write the same piece of code here also with one difference. So here the SQL is to get all the values, all the categories. So here I will say Control C, Control. Now the where condition is not there. Okay, so select ID comma cat name from category and rs is equals to jdbc template execute query. Now what is that I am trying to return here is list of object. I call this cat list is equals to new array list of the same type. Now all I need is I need to return this cat list back to the caller, whoever calls it. Now as a part of this assignment. Okay, so I will try to get the values coming from the result set and then assign it over here. So catch exception E, and I will write down here S out E. Now, what is that I'll get is result sets. So here I'm checking if this R is not, where is this not? By the way, not is equals to null. In that case, if I have a result, then only I will try to attempt, or else I will return the empty cat list. Okay, na? If result not is equals null, I will attempt, or else I'll get null pointer exception here. Next me. Okay, so I will say now while rs dot next. Can somebody tell me why I am using while here? Why I have used if there? So if and use says na. I know that ID based తెచ్చుకున్నాను కాబట్టి I know only one category will come. That's why I'm checking if condition. But here, because I haven't mentioned ID, I may get multiple categories. So I'm using while loop. While rs dot next, I will say inside this category cat is equals to new category. I'm creating a new category for every record, and I will set it like this. Control C and Control V. Now the category object is ready. I have to give this category object to this list. So I will say cat list dot add of this cat. Now this while loop continues. I'll get second category, continues third category, continues fourth category. After I have got all the categories, while loop quits. If rs does not have any row, finally I'll return the cat list, which is filled with so many category type of objects. Now you can see cat list is of type object. How I can add a category was because category is also object. Every class is an object at runtime. So this is how exactly you write your code. So you see every element or every DO you write a maximum of 60 to 70 lines of code you will write, not more than that, because majority of the code is reusable, something like this. You will never write code for save or update or delete. That is there in your parent, and he is also reusing the code. He will never write any code try catch kind of stuff. He is making use of jdbc template, and he is handling try catch kind of stuff. You see, pretty much easy, right? Yes, sir. So even if you write to product also, you will follow the same thing. So a product entity which will contain some 5 elements and then 5 setters and getters, and you have a product DAO which will contain same kind of piece of code, wherein this will increase. Like instead of 2 columns, you are setting 5 columns. That's all. Am I clear? Control S. Now, how many layers are ready, bhaiya? हमारे पास entity ready है, हमारे पास DU ready है, and you also have this UI also ready. So who is left? Mr. Controller. So I am not teaching you servlets at the moment. I mean clear, but I'll show you one example of servlet itself. Okay, so from web, the request will come to controller to save the category, and then he will supply the values to this entity and supply the entity to DAO and ask one of his method to be saved. The DAO passes this to one of the utility available called jdbc template. This jdbc template will do insert into the table. That's what happens. Come. Finally, I'll come to controller, right click, a new servlet. Observe carefully, I'm not taking a Java class. Please understand, I am taking a servlet. So I'll try to give this class name. Name of the class is category controller. This is what you said. And next, and it is asking Deco, what is the description or any input parameters you wanted to give? Nothing. Next. So here I am asking, can you please tell me what all the things that you are trying to implement, do get or do post or anything? No, I am interested in implementing only service method, neither do get nor do post, only service. So here I will say finish. Now this is how he will be given. Look at this. So he has got a path, a web servlet working at the path of category controller. Look at this path. This path exactly must have been specified in add category. Is it the same thing what you have specified? Slash category controller or category controller, right? So this is the name. What exactly you have specified is matching over here. Now this fellow can serve you. Who is that he can take a request coming from HTTP and he can give a response to HTTP, hypertext transfer protocol based. Two things which I immediately have to set key. I wanted to give a HTML response. So here I will say response object dot set content type as text by HTML. Meaning of that is, I will return a text and then let the browser take it as a HTML. Text by HTML. So, okay, how do you give a response, Baba? I have something called as print writer from java.io out is equals to the HTTP response object dot get writer. So here he will be a direct pointer to client browser. Okay. Now after that I have got this fellow, so I'll just come down. Now I will see what is the request I am getting. So look at this. What is the request you are passing? You are passing only one request element, which is cat name. That's all. To whom? To this category controller via post. So here I would like to receive that one. So I will say string cat name is equals to request object is bringing a dot get the parameter coming on the name of cat name. Right, I have got it. So what is that I'm supposed to do? This cat name is supposed to be saved. That is the purpose that they are sending it. So I will have to save this category name to someone. Okay, where I will say category entity cat is equals to new category, and I will say cat dot set cat name of cat name. I have set that value which is being received. Look at this. I have received a cat name and I have given it to category. And then this category must be supplied to Mr. DAO so that he can take this and save it. Where is the method? Save. So here I will come down and then we'll say category DAO cat DAO is equals to new category DAO. Now I will have to call that fellow. So I will say boolean success is equals to, okay. So what is that I wanted to do? Dear cat DAO, please save my object. What is my object? Category. So what this now what will happen? So the save method is called and this category object is supplied into save method. So it will go all the way to category. Now what is that is being supplied in this place here? We have received category cat. Now that's the reason why this object I am typecasting it to category cat. And after that I have typecasted, I am creating an SQL statement. I am calling super.save. So this SQL which belongs to the super is been updated, and then you have called the save method. The call all the way goes to the super, and then here he is calling jdbc template.execute update of so and so SQL. What is the SQL? देखो आपने create किया ना, insert into category cat name values. This will be executed. Now here from this the call all the way go to jdbc template, and then he will open a connection, he'll create a statement, he'll execute update, and if it is successful he'll return true. If something goes wrong he'll return false. Is this clear? And then you are receiving that boolean value success or not. Now here you want to showcase this output, so here you will say if success you want to do something else, you want to do something. You are a controller, you are controlling the behavior of application. If the response is success, you will do something, or else you will do some other thing. So here what is that you do? So here you will tell the end user the category creation is successful. But generally if you see something, let's say any login screen, if your username and password is wrong, you will be taken back to the same screen showing that Bhaiya this is wrong or kind of thing. So similarly I wanted to show the same screen again for which I will take the help of someone called as request dispatcher. We will discuss about request dispatcher in detail in the next session. For time being, you understand, I am trying to showcase same output again. So request dispatcher RD is equals to request object dot get request dispatcher on add category dot html. So what is the meaning of this, Ram? Therefore, my intention is to show the same output again. Okay, same output again. So here I will say RD request dispatcher dot include request and response. And in what I'm saying is, along with my request and response, please include this RD's output. What is the output of RD? Add category.html. So whatever you have written inside this add category.html, okay, now this output is included here. And after including this output below, I am showing out.println, and I will say center slash center. In center, I will say font color is equals to blue slash font, and I am saying this fellow must be a bit bolded, so I will say h3 and slash h3, within which I would say category added successfully. And if this is not the case, I'll still use the same kind of output, Control C, Control V, but with a slight change. So instead of blue, I will say here orange. Here I'll say unable to add category. Please try again. Something like this. Now look at this controller. This controller is taking overall control of the application. He receives request, he will identify whom to supply, and then he will supply that request value to a category, and then gives that category to DO, ask a particular operation to be performed. He will get the response, decide what output to be shown back to the user. So because he is taking care of all such work, this fellow is said to be a controller. To support this candidate, we have all the other people. Now let's run our application, which is ready. Okay, right click, run as. देखो नाकुన్న ఒకే ఒక డౌట్, ఇది ఇవ్వాలా ఇవ్వక్కర్లేదా అని. ఇచ్చాం కాబట్టి ఇచ్చి రన్ చేద్దాము, తర్వాత ఇవ్వకుండా రన్ చేద్దాం ఒకవేళ 404 వస్తే. ఓకేనా? ఐ విల్ సే రన్ యాజ్, రన్ ఆన్ ద సర్వర్. Let's go. Well, it is running. Okay, so I'll take this Control C and I will come down here to this Google and say Control V. Guys, you're able to see this one? Hello? Guys,
Sir, what does request dispatcher do, sir?
which one, beta?
Request dispatcher in servlet. Sir.
We will discuss it in the next session, not now. I mean, request dispatcher is basically helps us to take output of other elements into our output. Am I clear? He helps us to include output of other elements into our output. See, here this fellow is helping us to include the output of add category.html. Am I clear? Okay, na?
Okay, sir. He will just response back his the reply.
I mean, we are showing this response actually. Along with the response, above to the response, I wanted to show the included output. What is the included output? Add.html. Okay, now. So we will learn deep about the request dispatcher in our next session when we learn SQL API. Sorry, Servlet API. Okay. For time being, please understand, he will help us to dispatch the request either to some other person, or he will help us to receive output from some other. Okay. So it's something like I have a request, I'll process this, I can give it to you and you can show the output, or I will take something from you and I will return as an output. Understood? This is the
Okay,
help
sir.
of request dispatcher. So with MJS, he can take output from others and show here, or he can take our output and show, give to others also. Let's come here, and here I am trying to add sports, and I'll click on add category. It says ki 404 not found, as I told you, right? This is a problem. Slash category controller, and it is not running Amazon. Why is so? Why it is missing the context name? Here, take this add category also, which is not supposed to be given. What if I change this in this way? Add category. What if I have given this one? Controls. So here there is a problem. Now it has received and a big error has come up. Can somebody tell me what is this? One is class not found exception. It says key driver is not found. Second is URL cannot be null, SQL exception. So these are the two errors I have got. Let us fix them. So I'll go to Mr. Factory, dbcon factory. So here, so it is not taking this static, which is executed. Why? Because here the URL is not created. At this level, when you say class.forName, from there it has come out. That is the problem. So the driver is not there. Why driver is not there? Because we have not added anything to the library. Okay, look at the libraries. It contains only JRE and Apache Tomcat. There is no jdbc library added by us. So please go here where you have your connector and go to connector, MySQL connector, and then this is the fellow which you need. MySQL connector Java 5.1.48 bin or 5.1.48. Right click and then say copy. Please come to your project. In the lib, simply paste it. Okay, super. Stop the server which is running on the top, and again run your category again one more time. Add category. You can say right click, run as, run on the server. Let the server restart again. Now I'll come back here. Unable to add category, please try again. So I will say one more time. Still says unable to add category. So here there is an error. Unknown database Amazon. Now it says key unknown database Amazon. Why it is saying unknown database as Amazon? Don't we have the database called Amazon? Yes, we do have. Amazon is what we have, and the one what we have connected is root @localhost 3306, but it is saying Amazon is not found. Why it is saying is it says key Amazon slash is the database name. By mistake we have given a slash on the last of that one, so that is a problem. Again, please go back to DB connection factory and remove this slash. This is the URL slash Amazon, that's called Control S. And here the server will restart. Whenever you do change in a Java file, server typically restarts. So you can see reloading of context with the name Amazon is completed. Okay, we'll try to stop this server one more time for my this satisfaction, and I will try to add category.html, and I will try to run one more time. Well, it is running, so I'll come back and we'll say sports. And now it is taking time. Category added successfully. Super. But how do I believe whether it is added or not? Yahan pe aao. Category. How many rows are there? How many rows are there? 0. So right click and say refresh. You should see one row. So you wanted to see the data. Right click, edit table data. You must see the new category which is added over here. Category name null. What the hell? Why it is coming as null? This is very bad. Why it is coming as null? Let's see this one. So here, okay, functionality is good. Everything is going properly. The only thing is the category name coming as null because it is, look at the naming convention. Cat N is capital. Whereas in the controller, I'm trying to read this as a cat N is small. So this is case sensitive. As I told you, parameter name comes the way you pass it. So here I'll come to add category and I'll call this as small n, cat name, control S, and I will try to come back to this page and call it one more time. Sports, add category. Again, category added successfully within a split second this time. So I will go here and will try to refresh this, execute this. Again, I'm getting null. What the hell here? Come on. So the one it is supposed to be again in the controller mode. So here I will say add category.html. So here I will say jewelry added successfully. Refresh, jewelry has come. That is because previously we haven't refreshed the page in the chroma, so it was still taking cat name as n capital. So for the two records it has come null. So I will try to remove these records which are unnecessary. So here I will say sports and call this fellow electronics and apply change. So this is how basically it should work. Okay now, am I clear? So hope you understand the complete end-to-end concept. So that's what JDBC will do. That's how we get results. Now main thing you need to concentrate not on the add category, not on this Mr. Controller. Controller you can have. Okay. So the main point which you need to identify is on the way we have framed these 5 members. Factory, JDBC template, DO interface, Amazon DO, category, and category DO. So in future, you wanted to develop product and product DO also. It should not take, for you people, it should not take more than 1 hour. You know what? To develop a layer of database and all, we will give 1 day time to the developer. 1 day time, 1 day. So, but you should develop it in just like that in no time. Look at this. Help me out. What am I supposed to do? Just like category, I wanted to now, do I have to again generate factory? No, this is a one-time effort. Do I have to work on JDBC template again? No, this is a one-time effort. Do I have to create an interface DO? No, this is a one-time effort. How about Amazon DO? He is also one-time effort. So from now onwards, whenever you wanted to create, you will create only these two people, category DO kind of thing, product and product DO. So let us create. Pretty simple. Help me, please help me. How do I create an entity? Right click on entity, new Java class. Name of this Java class is product. So this fellow implements serializable. And then here I have private int id, and please have a practice of, instead of int, you please try to say integer, private integer id. Okay, private integer cat id, and you have private string p name and private integer price, and finally private integer quantity. देखो बेटा हो गया, and then you can say right click, source, generate getters and setters, select all of them, say select all, okay, control S. How much time it took? Not even 1 minute. So here generate the serializable ID also, control S. Now let me create a product here. Right click, new Java class, I will say product DO, and this product DO I would actually say extends Amazon DO, and then here I will say I have to implement all the methods, right? Right click, source, override getters and setters, not getters and setters, mistake. Right click, source, implement, override, implement methods, choose all of them, get, list, save, delete, update, and you get all. Now what is that you need here? Every time you simply change that one. What is that? You say product prd or product is equals to product version of obj, and you have to create that particular SQL query. And here you can auto import by clicking here import product, or you can say control shift I, which basically will import. Okay, I think control shift O, auto import. Okay, so anything to be imported, control shift O you can say, or you can place it over here. For example, anything you wanted to import, you place your control and say control space bar, it gives you hint what to be done. So this is what I wanted to select, and then here you can say SQL is equals to write your query, insert into product. What all you wanted to insert, you please insert. You wanted to insert cat id, product name, price, quantity, and say values. So you bring this into the next line, and then say 1, 2, 3, 4. So cat id, p name, price, and quantity you are inserting, and then supply them, which is coming to you in the form of prd. So here you can say a double quote concatenation prd dot get category id. Cat id is given, double quote, and 2 plus symbols, prd dot get p name. P name is given, double quote, 2 plus symbols, prd dot get price, and finally say double quote, 2 plus symbols, prd dot get quantity. Well, that is what I have. Right, super. Now what else? You can bring it over here to the third line if you wanted to view it properly, and that's it. Now similarly here also I would like to take this one, control C and control V, and here I will say SQL is equals to. Now here this is a tricky thing. So here you need to update every column which is coming, because you never know what is that the end user have updated. You are writing a dynamic application where you may get any value, so you need to update everything. Update product set cat id is equals to something, comma, p name is equals to something, comma, price is equals to something, comma, quantity is equals to something, where id is equals to the above plus prd dot get id, which is coming to me. Now I will frame this in a proper way. So cat id is equals to double quote prd dot get cat id. P name is equals to double quote 2 plus symbols prd dot get p name, and then below price is equals to double quote prd dot get price, and finally quantity is equals to double quote plus prd dot get quantity, where id is equals to prd dot get id. Well, that is my update and done. Next, delete. So here you don't need this product also. All you need is SQL is equals to, you can say, delete from product, where id is equals to the supplied value id. You see, hardly you are taking time. Within 10 minutes, we are able to complete 3 operations: insert, update, delete. So what is left now? Left is get and this one. So shall we take any common template over here? You cannot take any common template. You can take rs is equals to, get that fellow jdbc template. So here you need to write your SQL query. Nobody can save you in this one, especially when you are working with get and select list. Okay, na? So select all. You need to get id, comma cat id, comma you need to get p name, comma price, comma quantity from product, where id is equals to less id. Okay, superb. Now rs is equals to jdbc template dot execute query of so and so SQL, and that's it. Now here you need to frame your if condition based on if it is not null, try to get the value and return it. So here you say product prd is equals to new product, and you need to say if this rs not is equals to null and rs dot next. If it is not null and I have got at least one record, then please go ahead and then assign that value, and as a part of this you need to return prd. So what is that I need to return over here? Well, okay, so here I need to say not is equals to null. Now within which you can put everything inside a try and catch if you want. Okay, so here you could actually say a try, and here you could say key catch exception e and system.out.println of e. Now what is that I need to write here? Get the value from the result set and supply it to the product object. So all you need is prd dot set the id coming as rs dot get the integer coming from the first column. You can do in this way also. Some people have the habit of writing it very peculiar, like the column name id. Okay, so it is up to you. prd dot set the cat id coming from the column rs dot get the integer coming from the column of cat id. So this actually, when you write like this, there is no confusion. It avoids confusion. You are very clear. Cat id column is supplied to cat id only. So this is the best practice. prd dot set the p name as rs dot get the string coming as a p name, and prd dot set price as rs dot get the integer coming on the name of price, and last but not least prd dot set quantity as rs dot get the integer coming as the column name quantity. Now after that I have said I'll return prd, my work is over. So I'll come down here the same thing. So here I'll say SQL is equals to select id comma cat id comma uh, id comma cat id comma what else that we are bringing, p name comma price comma quantity from product, where id is equals to less id. Oh, why I'm giving id where id is not there, na? one product directly. Okay.
No,
Now
total
after
is
that, yeah, beta.
slow, sir. So why did you give
That's what
error?
ID is not there. Yes, exactly. So here RS is equals to jdbc, template dot execute query of SQL, and then here I need to create a list of object called trd list is equals to new array list of the same type. Okay, and you can skip this second version of object. This is called as diamond operator chilega, and here I am planning to return the prd list back to the end user. And where is here I need to write the same kind of try catch block. I'll say control C and control V, but with only one change. Inside I will declare product. PRD is equals to new product, and instead of if rs dot null, I would say I'll close this, and here while rs dot something like this. Okay, so here I will take this out and put it over here. So now this entire stuff is
Sir, add that into PRD list again.
I need to add beta. The code is not completed yet. So I'm just making this now spaces. Right. So ఇది ఇంకా ఇక్కడ తిడుతుందని చూపిస్తున్నాను. ఇక్కడ సెమికోలన్ మిస్ అయింది మనకి. Okay. Now this is what I will do, and then after I have added everything, I will return PR to this controllers. Now please understand, apart from this, now in the product I need some extra method. Hey, extra method, what is that? Sometimes we may have to get products based on the category. Okay, sometimes we may got to get products based on the category. In such a kind of thing, whatever I do is I'll take the same method, control C and control V, but this time I will take this int cat ID. That's the only difference. So here I will say product where cat ID is equals to the supplied value cat ID. ఇది ఎప్పుడు ఉపయోగపడుతుంది తెలుసా? Let's say on the home page you will have list of categories, sports, jewelries and all. So when you click on jewelries, right side you are expecting all the jewelry related items to be loaded, right? So how do you get it? This is how. So here I am writing some extra method also using the same kind of stuff. Am I clear? Is it clear? Am I clear? So this is how it is, man. This is how it is. It is so easy. It is so easy. This is how you can write. And here writing code is pretty easy. Something like this you can write here, everywhere. So hardly how much time it took for me to create this. Again, it took almost 20 minutes. That's all. So within 15 to 20 minutes, I'm able to develop one entity and entity related DAO also. Now, if I have to call this by any product or to be displayed by any product, I can display just like that. So here in the DAO, I will show you how do we display this. Right click a new Java file and I'll call this as a jdbc test. Now this fellow here, I will supply this fellow main method. So within the main method, I wanted to get the list of products and then see them, or list of categories and see them. Okay. So we have seen one thing, right? From here, we have seen how to add a category. Now from here, I will show you how to display the categories output. Okay. So here I will say list java.util.list of type object cat list is equals to, so you have to take care of that product DAO. You'll say new new category DAO dot list. So here I got my list. Now how do I show that? So for each object kind of element cat in cat list, I wanted to display this. So on the top, I just wanted to show you some output, जैसे कि category ID, category name. Okay, and here below in HTML, we will show this output in the form of a table. In table TD, we will show this output in a proper display. So here I will have to take this object into category style. So I will say category cat is equals to category of obj, or I will say cat, and then here I will say category. You can actually call this as obj if you are interested to get this. So I will say category to be imported, control spacebar, and I'll import it so that he will understand. Now this program have a category object, and here I will try to print sout system.out.println the above category object dot get id plus the above category object dot get cat name. And after this for loop is over, so again I'll print this system.out.println. Control C, Control V, Control S. Ready? It is that simple. Run as a Java application. You could actually see the output just like that. Operation not allowed after result set is closed. Oops. So there is a problem here. The result set is being closed over here while the time of getting the result. Where the result set is closed is in our jdbc template. I think here where you are returning this result set using execute query. So the result set what you are returning is closed. Here after statement is closed, result set is also will be closed, and the result set will be lost if you close it. That is the problem. What am I supposed to do in such case? So result set is always associated with a statement. Statement is always associated with a connection. Because of this, he is getting close. So that means this fellow is no more useful to us. He may not be useful to us. So here we need to supply an object of result set. How do we supply object of result set? So this fellow will not be useful. No way. So you have to write these people with your connection and other stuff. Simply instead of saying this jdbc template or execute query.
Sir, can't we take another statement and store that result set into that statement, not closing the statement?
He is a new. So what you are saying, to these results we have taken, what you are saying is you are returning this from this execute query and you wanted to copy this result set to something else, right? But very unfortunate, result sets are always linked to the connection. Wait a second, I am connecting this to the charger. I've connected it. I will power on. There you go. Okay. So what you are trying to say is result set rs1, comma rs2, something like this. So after here you wanted to say rs2 is equals to rs1, and
Yes,
then you
sir, that
wanted
is what I understood.
But this is a reference object now, beta. That is our problem. So this is a pointer and a result reference. So even if you say like this also, here a pointer only will be taken. So result set is never been created using a new object. There is no way you can create. You can get it only from this one. Let's see. Let us see this one. Let's see now that I have stopped this Tomcat server. Okay, and I'm not running the Tomcat server anymore. And I'm trying to call this jdbc test run as a Java application. You still not get operations will not be allowed after results it is closed. Okay, so here we have limitation. After getting habituated to Hibernate, I forgot about working on result sets at all. You know what happens in Hibernate? In Hibernate, we have a object called session. Session. So this interface session is been implemented by Hibernate. Is an interface only, by the way. Interface session is been implemented, and here the session have methods like save. So public save, which will take object obj and he will insert it. And similarly, you have got public query basis the return query called what do you call this? Create query, which will take a string SQL or HQL query, and then using this query, okay, we basically have a method called list. So when you call public list of object called list, so he will return you the list. That's all. So you need not worry how he is returning. He will return you the list. He create all that stuff which is required and then return you the list. So here you are, I think, supposed to add the result into key value pairs kind of thing, and you have to return from the this one. So this is not going to help us. We will compulsory have to call that fellow. Kya naam uska? Connection and other stuff. So here instead I'll have to say, so in such kind of case, Mr. DO, who is my Bob, mera Bob kidhar hai? Idhar. Along with result set, I'll have to have a protected connection con is equals to null so that I can reuse it, and protected statement is equals to null where I can reuse it. And import connection java dot sql dot connection protected statement object coming from java.sql.statement, and then please come down here to category DO. So here you need to say con is equals to db con factory dot get connection, and you got to say what do you call this? A statement. Statement is equals to con dot create statement, and you got to say rs is equals to statement dot execute query of the SQL. This much. These three are supposed to be written extra. Apart from that, you have an extra burden of writing your finally, in which you would again will have a try, catch, exception E, and within which you will have to say Mr. statement dot close and con dot close. So this much is what you need to add. That's it, nothing more than that. These elements are supposed to be added. That is the only change. So here also, instead of saying rs is equals to jdbc template, okay, so you got to add these elements Control C, and Control V, and then the remaining code is same. So also this final statement, Control C. Here I am unable to get rid of this boilerplate code. Shit. Control S. Now, what else is here? This jdbc template is no more useful over here. Right. Okay. Now the same thing, whatever you have, should be applied to this one also. Control C, come to Mr. Product DAO and make sure that you have implemented the same thing over here. Control V, and this is no more useful here. And you got to have Mr. Finally also. Yes, Mr. Finally. Here it is. Copy this fellow. Control C. Control S. Come here and supply him. Control. So this is the only difference here. Control S, and here also I'll have to say the same thing. There you come down finally, and here also I'll say Control V. Control V. Now try to take out these three on result set query part. Control C, and here Control V. Here also you need to supply Control V, Control S. Okay, only change ఏంటంటే ఈ కనెక్షన్ స్టేట్మెంట్ రిజల్ట్ సెట్ మనం మళ్ళీ తెచ్చుకోవాల్సి వచ్చింది. I mean manual గా కాల్ చేయాల్సి వచ్చింది. jdbc templates were not useful for this one. So that's how you write DAOs. Now I'll come back here to the jdbc test class and we'll try to run. You can see this output. So it is how it is. Now please try to understand what is that I'm trying to convey you is the people who calls DAOs, they should not have any idea about what is a connection, what is the statement, what is the result set or anything. They should see everything in the form of either a list of object or as a single object, which is basically representing a database. This is what we call as ORM style. So here we have implemented three standards, four standards in fact. One is MVC, model view controller. Okay, so where view is your HTML page, model is your category or product which is representing a database style of model, and DAO supported by, and controller is a servlet which is controlling the entire operation. That's one we have implemented. Second, we have implemented factory pattern where we have bring one DB factory who will commonly supply anything required. You should not call class.forName or URL every DAO. Tomorrow if you wanted to change, you will have to write these changes into all the DAOs what you have. Then third, we have tried to remove boilerplate code. Anyway, we are unable to remove this boilerplate code of this one, but we are able to remove this one. So here we try to bring our common functionality to jdbc template, and then Amazon DAO is making use of these three common methods to be called the same thing. That's how we actually are saving our majority of the code. We as a category DAO or a product DAO are concentrating only on the query part. You can see this one. Remaining is taken care by the jdbc template and all. This is how it is must be. But for these two, I was unable to do that. Okay, na? So that's jdbc. So major we have seen insert one example and select one example in the this JDBC test. So I will post all these classes as well as the project structure in the drive where I have shared you this one, or shall I give you these classes individually into the group? How do I do that?
Sir, in servlet we made only save function to execute, no sir?
Correct, correct, correct. So if you wanted to see values, you cannot use servlet for that purpose. Okay, na? Servlet, if you have used servlet to show the output also, it will take a lot of HTML code to be embedded into servlet. So we don't go for servlet, rather we go for JSP pages for that purpose. So you can ask me, Ram, what is a JSP page? JSP page is nothing but a HTML page in which you will write this Java code, this piece of code. Seriously? Yes, it is. Let's see this. Web content. I'll say right click and I'll try to create a small new JSP file, and I'll give the name of this JSP file, okay, as a let's say cat list.jsp. So within which I will try to write one scriptlet. What is a scriptlet? So here scriptlet, where is it? Here it is. Scriptlet. You know, this percentage symbol is called as scriptlet. Okay. Well, this one facilitates me to write code within whatever you want. अच्छा, राम तुम्हें क्या कोड लिखना है? भैया मुझे ये वाला कोड लिखना है. I'll take this one. Control C and Control V. You can see it is taking this piece of code, and here I have to import this list. I'll say Control Shift java.util and category DO, and then below, how do I write this piece of code? देखो यहाँ पे जाओ, category किधर है? JDBC test किधर है? इधर है. Okay. So for each object cat list, you need to show in this way. So take out this part. I'll say Control C and JSP page. Say Control V. Okay. Now what? So here you can see this. So here I will say close. So this for loop which have opened here have closed over here, and within this I am bringing one category object, and after bringing that category object here I wanted to frame and then show something. So below I get this list. Here I will form a table and get this table, Control X, and closed over here. You can see I am mixing HTML code and Java code. Am I clear? So within this table I wanted to show this. What is that you wanted to show, Ram? So here I will show the table heading. So I will say, first of all I'll say border is equals to 1 or 1. Okay, here where is 1? 1. So table border is equals to 1. Within this table my intention is to showcase this. So I'll say th and slash th, and again a th slash th. So here I will show category ID, and here I will say category name. Great. Now I will come down. For every category I wanted to show one tr slash tr. Now within the tr, you see this one, I am trying to mix up this Java code and HTML code. Within this tr I wanted to showcase each one into one td. This td contains category ID and another td contains category name. Okay, how do you show this one? I have an output run, right? You can say out.println, or you can say the scriptlet is equals to, which is an assignment scriptlet. You can simply say category dot get id. आ गया. यहाँ पे भी एक एक expression scriptlet is equals to, so you can say category dot get category name, and that's it. So wherever you write this simple piece of code, you are actually showing the output. So here invalid location of the tag th. अच्छा ठीक है भाई, అరే ఇది మరీ టూ మచ్ ఉంది. దీని స్ట్రిక్ట్ రూల్స్ తగలయ్యా. Control S. Okay, now you see this one. So this is a table which I wanted to show with the list of categories. Let's run this. Right click, run on the server. Ready, 1 2 3. That's your output. How simple it is. Do you think JSP stuff? You can print whatever you want within a HTML page. That is the specialty of JSP. You write Java code within HTML, but you need to follow certain rules and regulations. You cannot say system.out.println. No, you have to use such a kind of things like, no, whatever we have, scriptlet is equals to this kind of things. So there are three different kind of scriptlets. This is called as a code scriptlet. This is called as a printing scriptlet. And another one is there, exclamatory mark we see, that is a declaration scriptlet. Let's say if you wanted to declare some variable within your code where you wanted to use them globally, and then you will use this one, exclamatory mark. You will say int fno. Then this fno is available throughout the JSP page. So this is declaration scriptlet. Okay, na? So 1, declaration. 2, code scriptlet. 3, expression is scriptlet is what we call this as. Basically this is called as an output scriptlet also. So using these symbols you actually can write your code. And now what if I wanted to write my own method? देखो इसमें आप लिख सकते हो, है ना? ఎవరు ఉండండి. So you can write your method public void my method. So this my method can be used anywhere within the JSP page. So here it's something like, you know, you are writing your Java code within a HTML page. That is the benefit of JSP. But along with this scriptlet, you need to know something about this page directive, which is helpful to import things and then declare your output styles and all. Do you remember this content type text by HTML? This is what we have set at our controller also. Remember? Okay, so JSP is damn simple. You being a Java developer, okay, many people will say JSP is out of scope. No, nothing is like that. Many people are there where they wanted to showcase many projects. Even in our project we have only JSP pages shown as an outputs. So here I'll show you. There is an Axis Bank project, dtrev, and you have Axis CGT. Do you see anything called as Axis CGT over here? Axis, this one. Okay, Access. Here you have this clear and you know, this one. You have your web src, and here web you could see all HTML and JSP pages here. So web enough will contain JSP. You see these many JSP pages are. We have layouts, widgets, header pages, includes body, these many. Do you think, you see how many JSP pages? Damn, see 307 JSP pages. Do you think ours is a small application? Axis Bank is using this application. So who says that, like, you know, this is last update on 2019. You can see that one. Something. So who says JSP is not used in the world? Many people will say like this. Like I know one of my friend. So he says, "Kya yaar mama, so your Java is out of scope. Now future is Python only." I'll let the future come. Na, take a lot of time. When I was working with Talent Sprint in 2012. The director of Talent Sprint, Ashokan Pichai, he says, why the hell he used to use even a worst kind of F kind of word. Why the F? You people are working on Java. I don't know. Future is Python. Nobody can. No, I mean there is no scope in Java. Within no time, within 1 or 2 years, you all will be on roads. It's almost 7 years back he said like that. But I'm still working on Java. I can see my company will use these projects again for more 10 more years. I have 41 clients. Still we are using Java only. Yeah, come on. You see, every technology has its scope. People who are from Java background, let's say you wanted to show an UI page, it is this much simple. You cannot imagine. It is this much simple. That's all. Write some 5-6 lines of code of Java to customize the output the way you want, and you can still get the benefit of having HTML look and feel for it. So what you need is you tell the designer to design the page and give it to you with the static values, and then remove the static part where you are showing the table and write down your piece of code that actually shows the output. It is so simple. Okay, so this is Java server pages, what you have seen just now. Clear now? So we have seen all, like, how to get the data, how to save the data also. Either you save or update or delete, it's one and the same thing. And this is how you will get the data. Got it? So I'll share this application to you people, all of you. So try to create this, do a practice. And the next session, I'll take some time. I want you to practice all. How many of you have practiced all these, like exceptions or collections? Anybody practice all these examples so far? Because you're already occupied with your college works and other stuff. I'm just asking. Did anyone practice these items?
No, sir.
No, right? I do understand. I'm not blaming you, because yeah, I am only, whenever there is a holiday, I'm taking 7 hours of day. And when there is no holiday, you are having your college sessions in the post lunch. So I don't expect you to be ready. Now, I want you to be ready. Now, this is time for you people to be ready. I'll say, okay, remove this. And you see, you have to practice these many things. So if you are thinking how, it is up to you. You need to practice the data types part, casting conversion techniques, hooks examples we have discussed, string examples we have discussed, arrays examples we have discussed, and you need to know about exceptions. Practice, just see by changing things how it is behaving. And we need to say collections, threads, IO streams. Man, you see, these many things are there to practice. SQL queries, today we have discussed HTML page designing, different kind of HTML pages designing. And finally, you need to practice now the jdbc. You see, how many days you require? You tell me, on an average, how many days you expect a preferred practice on so far discussed? One day for each house if you take, you have to practice for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You see, these many topics we have covered so far. Okay, so nobody believe, but these many topics we have covered. So the things that are left for you people to become professionals of development are servlets and JSP, and learning something called as web services. So if you know this, you are an all-rounder. And then in future, you might be learning Spring with Boot and Hibernate, REST API. This is no more RESTful web services. This is REST API. And by learning this, you know what? You will become a final level of developer in Java. So you are ready to go and then grab any job and any place where a person is having knowledge and working since 1 year. It's something I'm trying to show you, the same kind of standard techniques what we use as a part of development, so that when you speak about these kind of examples, when you sit and then say, key, so here is an interface, DAO, I have implemented with Amazon DAO, and then JDBC template I have written. People will look at you, what is man, what is that you are writing? This JDBC template is the one which is there in Spring. So we will do the same thing. We have a JDBC template class in Spring Data. We will say JDBC template dot save, JDBC template dot update, JDBC template dot delete, and JDBC template dot get. Then he will return as the result set somehow. I don't know how they have implemented, but he will return as an the result set kind of thing. So get result is what we call. Okay. So these are all,
Sir, Spring
you
is a
can tell.
framework, no, sir?
Yes, it is a framework.
Spring is
So
a framework.
we framework, a standard way of implementing. It gives you a structural components using which you can develop web application very easily. Now this is your pending part for me to discuss, and this is your completed part. This is your pending part. I was given 12 days to complete all this portion. 12, each day considered as 7 hours was given 12 days. So far, what is that we were done is this. This is the one we have covered. Okay, so JDBC, this is what we have covered. And I tried to give you how servlets and JSP flavor also. So a web app also to be implemented, and then RESTful web services. Angular is also there. I don't know. You see, this problem here is if you wanted to work on Angular, I may not teach you this one. I may not teach you this JSP servlets. I will be taking you directly to the web services. Okay, and then teaching the web services in next 2 or max of 3 sessions, each session counting for 3.5 hours. So a maximum of 9 more hours of portion or 12 more hours of portion is there with me, but I don't touch this. But if you are thinking to go with Angular, am I clear? It is not a decision, it's not my cup of tea, it's your management decision. You won't learn the servlets or JSP if you are learning Angular. I will be teaching you what is a web service, how it will receive request, and how it will send response. Both request and response happens in the form of JSON. And sometimes you may request using HTML form also. Okay, you may get a request using HTML form or JSON. This is for request, and response always goes in the form of JSON or in the form of string, either as a string element or as a JSON string. Okay, so HTML string or JSON string. It depends, like depending on the client. So I probably will teach you this later on, but I want you to practice. You think of it how many days you want for practice of these things, and speak to your TPO tonight. Have a decision, make, like you want a gap or you want me to continue. If I wanted to continue web service, you don't learn anything until and unless you see an output. So if you see an output, you need to learn Angular first. So I probably may suggest, if you are going with Angular, so Angular should start now. After Angular have started, you have seen how to write UIs. From the Angular, you will send JSON request. To the Angular, you will get JSON response from a dummy REST web service, which is already there, available, openly, freely available on the websites. Once you've done up to this level, then I will teach you how to create your own web service, which will receive and give response in Angular. And then it makes sense. So here, one or other way, you will get a break. Chikana? Understood or not? But if I am continuing with servlets and JSP, there is no break. I mean, if I was told key, no sir, first you complete your servlets and JSP part, let them develop the project in JSP kind of thing, then there is no break. You will learn all this stuff. So many to learn. Like servlets will take not less than 3 sessions, each session of 3 hours, and JSP will also take 2 sessions to learn the theory part, 5, followed by 3 more sessions to develop our Amazon application. So somewhere around 8 sessions. 4 days is, I mean, by this week, end of the weekend, you will be completing your Amazon kind of big application using JSP. Okay, so let's see. Shoot them. I will share